Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I am doing a video request for Mad Witch, who asked to see how I make my bags. I just have to put a little caveat in to say that I am not a professional seamstress by any means, and creating all of this is a little bit of a hot mess. So I will definitely show you my process, but it's probably not pretty, it's not professional, and my bags, if you look at them real closely, are not like perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I am happy to share how I put this all together. So I have my fabric laid out here. So basically I don't have a template because I tend to do make bags for a lot of my modified decks, so they're not really a standard size. So basically I kind of make a template for each deck. So basically I take it and I measure how tall it is or how wide it is. So I've got 1 inch on each side, so that's 2, and it's like 2 3/4 inches across. So I've got 4 3/4 inches that I need in width to make sure that I wrap all the way around. Now I add usually 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch to that to allow for my seams. I'm going to flip this around so this I can see my marks. So I'm going to actually mark on the inside of my bag. So this would be the inside, but the wrong side of the inside, of course. So what did I say? I said it was 4 3/4, which would put me about here. I'm going to go to 5 1/4 just to give me some playroom. So generally I would assume 12 inches for your length just to get your pocket is usually good for just a standard size deck. But then you want to add in for the flap that goes over. And I'm really not going to do like a whole detailed thing because, you know, I'm not an expert by any means. So generally this is, to be perfectly honest, this is what I do. I flip it over and I go, yep, there's my bag. And I want my flap to be roughly in the middle of it. So I'm gonna say right about here. And real fancy, that's where I'm gonna make my mark. Just right there. And I'm gonna cut, just give myself a little extra playroom. I don't wanna give myself too much playroom because I've done that and then ended up making gigantic bags where the deck just slides around. So now you can see that I've roughly got the shape of my bag here. Okay, so to get the inside of my bags, because I always line my bags with felt just to give them some cushion and some stability. And all I'm gonna do is take my fabric glue here and just glue this to the inside. Okay, so I've glued that down, and then basically I'm just gonna sew this together as if it was like a pillowcase. So I'm just gonna take the 2 right sides of the fabric and put them together. I wanna leave this side open, so I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna not sew to the end. I'm gonna leave a little bit of an opening here, and I'm just gonna sew all the way around, and I'm gonna make a pillowcase. Okay, so I trimmed off all the excess too, but basically I made a pocket, like a pillowcase. I have this end open and the rest of it is sewed completely shut. So this is my inside. Basically all I'm gonna do is reach my hand in here and grab it and flip it right side out. Okay, so I ran an iron over it. Basically, all I'm gonna do at this point, this is like real scientific here. So I'm basically gonna take my deck, I'm gonna put it in there, and I'm gonna fold it over. And this, as you can see, this is now gonna make my pocket. So I'm gonna fold it over and go, yep, that's about where it needs to be. And I'm gonna lay that down like that. And I'm gonna run the iron over this. Just basically though, sew these 2 sides together. Okay, so I've sewed these 2 sides together, and as you can see, like I wasn't very precise about it. Like I didn't didn't do a fabulous job, but like I said, these are just for me and it's really on the inside so nobody's gonna see it. So just flip it right side out. And tuck my corners out, and generally I will iron that down again just to make it nice and flat. And you can see that I've basically, I've made a pocket. So you can see it in there. So size was pretty good. And that's really all there is to making that end of it. Okay, so for the top, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold these down and I'm gonna tuck them in here, and I'm actually going to iron them so they stay flat like this. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Okay, so I've just ironed this flat here, and I'm gonna say that there is, yeah, I think that's a good color. I'm sure there is a much more proper way to go about doing this, but this is just how I do it because I'm really not a seamstress and I really don't have I don't have any training whatsoever on how to do this. So basically I just cut me a little loop with my ribbon, and one of these days my goal is to sew my button on beforehand, but I just don't ever seem to get around to that. So basically what I do is I tuck my deck in here, because like I said, generally I'm working with odd shaped decks, or, you know, non-standard size decks. So generally that's, which is why I don't do a lot of templates. I do just a lot of working with the deck itself. And really I'm just eyeballing it, like, to try and get it in the center. Again, measurements would probably be a good thing. If I put a button right about there, that looks about right. Maybe scoot it down just a little bit more. You don't want to make your loop too small, or you'll have to use like a really teeny tiny button to get it to fit. But okay, again, I kind of cheat. Fabric glue, only because I don't want this thing moving around on me while I'm trying to sew it, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not the world's greatest seamstress. Okay, so I just put that in there, and then I'm just gonna take it and I'm just gonna run a stitch right along here and sew it up. Okay, so I just sewed a stitch along there, which you probably can't even see because it's black on black, just to keep that in there and to close up my bag. Now, like I said, there's probably a more professional, more efficient way to go about this, but this is just how I do it. So now you can see that I tucked my deck in there, and I've got my little loop with my closure, and all I need to do now is sew a button in there. Okay, so I've sewed my button on, and here is the finished product. So basically it's a little pouch, and that really is all it is. Just flip it on there like that, and there you go. That is how I make my bags. It is not fancy. My button's a little bit off-centered, but it works for me, and I like it. And the thing that I like the most about it is I get to, you know, intentionally choose fabrics for my bags, and that to me is a really important part of the whole process. Like, this is my Anna Kay, and I have the beautiful little birds in here. So I hope you enjoyed this little video request for a look at my totally not professional bags, but they're cute and they work for me, so it's all good. Anyway, so that's it for me today, so I will see you soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.